Hi, Shondell. Nice to meet you. Come on in. Welcome to Skeleton Key Recording.
Yay. Thanks for having me.
Just a quick, here's the lounge, the control room, our wonderful Rogues Gallery, the live room. We have a tech room back there, of course, the bathroom. And we'll go back this way.
All right.
Yeah. So this is our lounge. We eat in here a lot and people do paperwork and things, but there's some cool stuff in this lounge. When I worked with Dee Snider, the producer on that was Damon Ranger, and he got me this Metropolis movie poster that actually hung in Spain in the 1980s in the re-release. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. The Michael Grimm stuff is cool. The Jimmy Page is by Robert Knight, the original photographer, and Bob Kulick and I, who had done some work for him. He liked it so much, he said, hey, can I get you something? And I said, yeah, I want some of those iconic photos that you did. So that's where we got those from.
Well, I noticed there's a guitar pick stuck in there. Does that have anything to do with the picture, or is that a different story?
Oh, let's see. Oh, that's an Alan Parsons guitar pick. Yeah, I did some work with Alan, and so I got picks. I've got one of his box sets of his recording technique thing. And then I don't know if you saw it, but there's a signed record out there of the record I recorded piano for him on. And we recorded that at the Hideout. So...
What is the origin story of this studio? How did we come from the Hideout and end up here?
I was asked to build what was then called Odds On. I was president of that company, and I worked with Carl Yanchar, who was the architect and designed the layout and did the Hideout. And then as that was opening, we had the huge economy crisis of 2010. So I was then asked to go and build a studio for a college. Which was called International Academy of Design and Technology. And I went to work for them. So I was there for 10 years, did very well, and they decided to close and go into all medical stuff. So when they closed, they said, look, we know how much you put into this studio. Do you want the gear? And I said, sure. So I had to pay something, obviously, but it was a really great deal. Bought all that gear, started looking for places. This place turned out to be available, and I came in and redid it and sold the SSL console, and redid all the acoustics in here and did the colors and the crazy stuff you see, and opened his Skeleton Key Recording.
So when you originally took over the building and started putting all the beautiful colors, and I know I keep mentioning the colors, and
yeah.
Vibe is so important when you're coming to do the kind of work that you do. Did you have a vision for that up front, or did you just sort of let it inform you as you went?
Once I got into the building and was looking around, then the color scheme kind of just came. I kind of have this weird little gift, just like at the Hideout, where I was like, oh, I want this purple and I want metals involved, and I want, at the college studio, it was all oranges and blues and light colored wood. And I wanted it to be a professional studio, but kind of feel like a classroom still a little bit. And then here, the older I've gotten in doing this, the more I want it to be inspiring and comfortable for the artist, right? Like, I don't want it to feel like a studio. I want to feel like we're recording the band, not shoving the band in the studio.
Nice.
Right? I want them to feel like, almost like, oh, my rehearsal place has some skulls, and my bedroom has a couple of these kind of candles. So I kind of want that vibe where it just feels like you can kick your shoes off and make a record, and not feel like there's the corporate pressure of, you've got one more hour and we're going to start charging you again.
It feels just like that. It feels very inspiring and comfortable at the same time. That is a hard balance to strike.
I guess, yeah. Okay. I'll go with you on that one.
So I want to ask you about this picture here, this print here. I understand it's very rare.
Okay, so there were only a few of these made. There's the silver and black ones and the black and white ones. And these were done about 30 years ago. And this is the family tree of American rock. There's the family tree of British rock on the other wall. And you guys can get in close later, but if you look, it's all the names, all the artists, all the bands that basically started rock music and have kept it going in the US up until when this was made. There's obviously been bands after this, but it's a pretty unique thing, and it's really cool to have. And if you're really bored, you can stand there for hours seeing everyone from Elvis to the Eagles. I mean, it's got everyone. Everyone's in there. Kiss is in there. It's got the whole shebang.
And the last thing I want to ask you about in this room, Bobby, is this very moody picture here. Who is that young moody person?
Oh, this jerk is 30 years ago. That's when I was doing the Ron Reagan show on Fox and had been a bass player and done a lot of stuff and toured with a lot of people. But at that point, I was about ready to hang it up, and I was just starting to get into the studio business. So that guy doesn't exist anymore.
The picture is just as vibey as the studio. It fits right in.
Okay, good. Good. I hate that guy.
Can you take us on a tour of the rest of the rooms in the studio?
Yeah, let's go into the control room.
So I have a question about where you think traditional studios are going.
Look, I think it's slowly going away. I think what's happening is we've become boutiques. Like, I'll have guys like Soul Juice, the people that you know, that come in and they want to cut all their drums with me, and then they take it home. And then they'll come back and do some guitars, and then they'll take it home. And then they'll do vocals and mix it to a point and come in and just finish off the mixes with me, you know? So that thing where people would go in and lock out a room, which I think is a lost art. You know, having somebody in a studio for 2 or 3 months to conceive the record, make the record, and develop it, that producer-record relationship is what's missing in the world. But with sales not being what they were, you can't expect anyone to say, hey, here's 100,000 or here's 50,000. The Tommy Two-Tone record I'm doing, we worked out a thing where we could come in and rehearse for a few days. I got to work with the band on all the grooves and rehearsing. And then we came in here and we basically had the drummer out there and all of us were in here hashing it out, you know? And we recorded live-esque, meaning the intent wasn't to keep any of those parts. Those parts were going to go away. But there is an energy that happens when everybody's in the room. And once that energy is on the tracks and you start to do overdubs, the energy retains. People snap right back into it. It's not like you have a great drum day and then people go to do overdubs and they all have no personality. No, right. Just it comes right back. So there's something to be said for that. And that's where I think the parsing out of recordings has lost its magic, because you get a bunch of stuff and then a producer puts it all together and sometimes it all works and everybody gave the right amount of energy, and sometimes it just sounds like, well, that's a nice recording and that's an okay song, but it doesn't leap out at you. It doesn't go, hey, I'm over here, listen to me. But again, it's all budget based. So, you know, it's a matter of, can you afford to come in to a room? People think that all studios, because we have all this gear, are rich, and it's like, no, we still have the bills to pay like everyone else. We've got the studio dog, and we've got you know, all the gear and the upkeep, and then there's maintenance on things, and there's microphone upkeep, and just the power, the rent, all that stuff. And people tend to think that, you know, when they see all this, that means you're independently wealthy, and it's not the case. We have a bottom line and a budget just like everyone else. And what I tell people when they come in here is, you're not paying for the room, you're paying for my years of experience. So you know, hey, studio's free. You're paying for me to get you to the next spot. So I think if I had to advise any young artist, it's like, save a few pennies, go find your mechanic, meaning the right producer. Not some guy with a name always, the person that their work fits your work. And once you've combined those two things, that's where the magic can happen. But it's not free, and it's not cheap. So is it going to come back? I don't know. I don't know what the saving grace is at this point. You know, in Europe, the studios do much better because they still value the art. They have hundreds of years of valuing art. They know that art should cost something. Mm-hmm. America, not so much. People have gotten used to getting it for free. the problem with self-help and all the self-teaching videos, and I see this with even my interns, is they'll get advice from a guy who lives 4 blocks away or 1 town away, and it's kind of all myth and conjecture and hearsay, when there's experts that are posting this actual information online, and people who are willing to, because you can access them now on Facebook or wherever, and if you send them a message, how did you do that one thing? A lot of them are more than thrilled to go, oh, let me tell you, right? Like the information is out there. Don't ask the wrong guy. You know, I call it getting trapped in the Google mines, and they never get the information they're actually looking for. So ask an expert and realize you're not going to get this big studio drum sound in that 8x8 drywall bedroom that you have in your house. So know your limitations. Know that if you need to go to a studio and cut drums, go. And you can still go back and finish the rest at your house.
Now everything's digital, and do you think there are reasons for people to really come in person to record?
Oh, definitely in person. If you're asking me about analog, it's never coming back.
I'm sad about that, but you don't think it's going to come back around like vinyl records?
So I have a good friend in the business who looks at all these charts for what sells, whether it's, MP3 downloads, and, we all got sold. Vinyl is back. There's this huge vinyl revolution. Well, if you look at that pie chart, vinyl is like a hairline, and that hairline doubled. So for the vinyl people, that's a huge amount, but for the rest of the world, it's nothing. Nothing has changed. People want their music to be portable. They love it on their phones. They love all those things. They love it to be in the cloud. So that's where we live. And I get a lot of young guys, interns, former students. Oh man, if it was only done on analog, it's like, you guys have a fond memory of analog that you've never worked on. It's time consuming. It's cumbersome. It's slow. I started on tape. All the guys I know that are my age and older would never go back to it. I mean, it takes too long. And albeit in the beginning, digital was rough and it didn't sound good. Now it sounds way better and the workflow is faster. And your label, if you get a label deal, will buy a couple of 4 terabyte hard drives and you're good to go. Versus $3,000-$4,000 in tape that isn't as good as it used to be. So my answer is no.
No, it's not coming back, and no, you won't go?
No, it's not coming back, and no, I'm not going back to it.
Do you ever get requests from bands to just do it the old way?
It's been over 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. No one has asked for tape. And then when you tell them the price, they can't afford it anyway. So, yeah. And look, all the great consoles, still relevant with digital. That stuff's all great. Outboard gear, great. You need all that front end to record. That stuff's wonderful. But the gear never made records that people did. The fond memory people have is of great songs, great songwriters, great performances. That's what's gone away. We lean on this too much. It starts to be a Xerox machine instead of a creative machine.
Wow. I have got to find a way to get that on a t-shirt.
So I know the guy, Jason, who invented the microphone that went to outer space.
Okay.
Remember seeing about that?
Yeah.
The one that went on the Mars mission? And he made these great stickers for me. And I gave them to the guys from Korn. They're on the tape machine in the Korn studio. And as much as we love it, we also hate it. So here's your official sticker that says, and you guys can thank Jason for that. I've installed so much Pro Tools, they would laugh, I'm sure. And it's actually on the tape machine at the Korn studio, which used to be the old Buck Owens studio.
So is there a DAW that you prefer to Pro Tools, or do you think that Pro Tools is on its way out? What's...
Pro Tools isn't on its way out. I really feel like the last 3 years trying to do stuff to make it way better. It's the main attraction, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're going to work in multiple rooms, it's you can just take your hard drive and away you go. Now, that being said, I have writers who work in things like Ableton. They still always end up in Pro Tools, but I think for the creative process, and Pro Tools is trying to catch up right now, there's better ways to build tracks if you're going to do that. But if you're making records like I make, and someone wants to work in Ableton, then they can just send you the WAV files, then you do the vocals, and do the guitars, and do the drums, or do whatever else you're going to add to it and mix it. And so it all works. I don't fault anybody for using another program. I don't expect them to expect me to have all those programs because they don't play nice together on the same computers. So. But other than that, I mean, when Dr. Dre was in it at the Hideout, when it was odds on, his guys were all working in Logic, and then that would get dumped to Pro Tools. They were doing vocals and stuff over it. So, yeah.
I think that goes along with something we were talking about earlier, Bobby, is they don't know why they need to hire the right mechanic, and sometimes don't get out of their own way and allow you to do your job. What would you tell artists coming into a studio to be ready for when they hire somebody with your experience?
Just be open. I'm here to make your dream bigger, not change what you're doing.
And I love that you have a unique perspective on the Bobby Ferrari sound on.
There is no Bobby Ferrari sound.
I love it.
I'm making a record for the artist, not for me. There's two types of producers, and there's producers who do 50, 60% of the writing. I get involved in the writing sometimes when there's a bridge missing or we really need to do something. But that's all in creative discussion with the artist, and it's because they agree that needs to happen, and we'll hash it out. With Tommy Two-Tone, there was a lot of, I don't like this groove. And in rehearsal, I went, no, it should be this and it should be that. And then when I saw the whole band get happy, I knew we were, because we're selling feelings through air. We're really not selling sounds. Does anybody care about the snare sound on the Beatles records? No, they love the Beatles songs, right? So when you break it down, and even in your own mind, let's say you really love a Three Dog Night song from Mama Told Me or something. You have a version of it in your head that you listen to, and then if you go back and dissect that original recording, you'll start going, oh God, I don't remember it sounding like that at all, right? So we fill in the blanks in our head. So always remember it's about the song and not about yourself.
So Bobby, how important do you think speakers are for the people who have home studios? What should they be looking for? What do they need?
They're already working in an untreated environment. So you've got that to contend with. And they'll get speakers that are maybe too loud for the room, or speakers that don't have enough low end, or they'll have a subwoofer that's boosted up because it's rocking and it sounds cool for them. But then they go to the car and there's either no bass or too much bass. So you have to spend some time in your home studio, and you can do it very inexpensively with some mic stands, some construction clips, and some packing blankets. Get 6 or 8 of these things, moving them around the room until it starts to sound like from your speakers what you're used to hearing in your car radio. Now, if you've got an AM car radio and a 65 Dodge, don't go buy that. Try to use the one in the Lexus or whatever. But if it doesn't sound right there, it's not going to sound right everywhere else. And simple treatment like that can take care of that problem. Make sure your speakers aren't too wide. I see in home settings where the guys have 2 amazing gaming monitors and the speakers are 18 feet away like this. And they wonder why they can't get the vocal to sit right? So there's nothing in the fake center channel because it's so far out. So move your monitors, get the speakers right first, and then place everything around that. So, I mean, just like here with these, the Tecton Designs, which are an amazing speaker. If you notice, my monitor isn't in the way. It's purposely so it's not going to get any reflections, because everything is a reflection in a studio. So the other thing I see is they'll have desks and the speakers will be sitting right on them. So now you're getting low end buildup from the speaker sitting on the desk. And the other problem is the tweeters aren't even with your ears. So you get all kinds of weird balances and you're struggling, and eventually you'll learn how to compensate in that room, but you'll drive yourself crazy doing it. And if you then go to work in another studio, you're going to do those same EQs and settings out of habit, and they're not going to work in that environment because you've compensated so much. So read up a little bit on monitoring and placement and where your speakers should sit, because a lot of times 90% of your troubles aren't with your recordings, it's the way you're listening.
And so to that end, what do you think about headphones? What kind of headphones?
So I'm not a headphone guy. I've never been a headphone guy, but I know guys that are getting amazing results out of the Slate VSX system. I know guys who swear by it, that they can go into those rooms and they can do their thing, you know, because it has all the different room models, and they can check their mix in Abbey Road or wherever, and they love it, and they're getting results. So, you know, if it works for you, it works for you, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to tell you how you should or shouldn't do something if it's working.
And why do you prefer not to use the headphones?
I've just never really enjoyed them. The low end isn't right. You've seen the videos, the memes online where the person's mixing on headphones and then they take it off and the bass is so loud it's blowing them out of their chair. Yeah, that's the way it is for me. I always want that happy bass, and then it's too much and I'm readjusting the whole thing. So
that makes sense. Tell us about some of your hardware in here.
So we have all analog front end, because you still have to get it into the computer, and that's mic pre's and compressors and EQs. So I have a bunch of the original Neve stuff, the 1073s. I have Summit tube stuff. I just got a vintage Orban EQ off of Reverb that are really hard to find. It's a parametric EQ. And a kid said, it has a scratchy pot, $300, and they're like $1,200. So before I could even finish like reading his thing, I bought it. And then when it showed up, I exercised all the pots and it's silent and like brand new. So
can you show us some of your hardware in here?
Yes. Let's start with helping people that don't know, and let's go down to like their Focusrite or their M-Box or whatever they're using at home. That's your converter, and it's got mic pre's built in. This is in addition to. So since I don't have a console, which in the old days consoles had mic pre's on every channel, these are all the flavors of stuff that people really like. Because I work in the digital world on the back end, I still need this stuff on the front end. You still need analog devices to get into digital. And then they go through the conversion, which is your M-Box or your Focusrite. In this case, I'm using the Pro Tools converters. And we'll point those out when we get over to the whole Pro Tools rig. But this stuff is what microphones have to go into to get to the digital domain. So here we've got the vintage Neve 1073s, which are an industry favorite, and I love them. We've got a rare Universal Audio 8110. They only made about 3,000 of these, and then they stopped. It's an 8-channel mic pre Class AB. It sounds fantastic. And then I have the Summit tube stuff, Summit tube compressors and EQs, a match pair of distressors. These BBEs, which are basically a 2-channel EQ. It's a up, down, and brighter or darker. It's a very simple thing. These came from the Hideout. When Kevin bought it, he was selling off some gear, and I said, Kevin, if you're gonna get rid of those BBEs, I really want them. And he said, great. And I went over to get them, and we hung out for a little bit. And he said, what are you gonna use them for? And I said, well, for me, I only use them for toms. They're the secret weapon. And he went, oh man, I forgot about how good those sound on toms. And then it was too late because I was walking out the door with them. I had them at that point. So, and then I've got a lunchbox here with a couple of Neve EQs, a Little Labs bass enhancer, which I like to use much better on the outside mic of a kick drum than using a sub-kick mic. I don't like those. A couple of sexy independent EQs, a couple of Purple Audio 1176s, and a couple of Brute compressors. So I've kind of got everything I need to do what a console would do. People will say, but you don't have busing, which is when you have a group of mics and you want to send them together down 1 or 2 channels. Well, I do. Ed Evans, who was the tech at the Hideout, and was the tech that built the power station in New York, and was at Right Track and developed some stuff for API years ago. Ed lives here and he's fantastic. And he built me a couple of pieces that go on the patch bay that let me sum microphones. Now, the only thing missing there is a summing amp, but I just saved one of the Neves as the summing amp. So I get to bust things together just like a regular console, without having to have some kind of crazy special device to do it. And then the other thing that's new, that's a company from Germany called Lake People. How many times are you in a studio, somebody hits the phantom power button, it pops the speakers, causes problems. These guys, after 100 years of recording, figured it out. So if I hit phantom, it mutes the whole signal and then goes off once the phantom's engaged. It's genius. And I'm like, why did it take us 100 years to come up with this? And then for headphones, I use a Hear system, because out in the room, a lot of times I'll have, for example, maybe a drummer. On the Landau Murphy record, we wanted it to be like one of those old school jazz records, like the Take Six stuff or the Dave Brubeck stuff. So we had everybody out there, stand-up bass player, et cetera, and they all need to have their own headphone mix. And I like guys to be able to dial in their own headphone mix. So we have the Hear system, and that's 8 different mixes going out there. And then, of course, these are the Pro Tools converters. So this is your digital conversion, and it's analog to digital. I have 48 in and 48 out. And then this is a piece, JCF Audio. It's called a Latte. Alan Sides from Ocean Way turned me onto this. This is a $6,000, well, actually $8,000 2-channel converter. So once I get past drums, all the overdubs I do, single guitars, vocals, acoustic guitars, everything goes through here. So it's a much, much creamier, more analog sounding conversion than the Pro Tools conversions. And this goes in AES into Pro Tools, so it basically defeats their conversion and is using this. So that's kind of one of my secret weapons. These are hard to find. They still make them. It's worth it though. The difference is amazing. And that's kind of everything. That's everything I need to get stuff so that it sounds fantastic. And then I've got clean, wonderful, energetic signals when I go to mix.
Nice. I will now forever, whenever I see the Latte, know that it's a creamy sound.
It's a creamy sound. Creamy sound, baby. Creamy.
So, Bobby, I've noticed you don't have a console. What the hell is this?
Okay, so this is my workflow. I've got everything I need right here to mix. I can switch between screens. I can pause, play, and stop. I can record from here so I can stay focused out there. One of the big problems of these screens is I go into sessions all the time and I see young guys and they're like this on the screen and they're having no interaction with the person that they're recording. Like, remember, you need to be watching. Is the mic falling? Is the guy giving it his all? You can tell by people's body language. If someone goes into the vocal booth and they're like this, singing, it's not going to be a good performance. And your job as a producer engineer is to go, hey, loosen up, shake it off, think like you're live and do all that coaching that's important. This lets me do all that. I'm not roped to my editing screen. So I call this my editing screen with all the keyboard commands. When I'm working with an artist and just running tracks, I've got everything I need right here. This is the Avid Dock. And this is the Avid S3. So the S3 is basically this window. I can do everything that goes on in this window from the S3. I can see what I'm recording. I've got my tracks. I've got plugins. Here's my organ comp. Everything's color coded the same way. I can select just that track. That comes up on the Avid Dock. And now I can make modifications to that. I can go to the channel. I can open my plugins. Oops, if I hit the right button. And there's the Abbey Road compressor plugin. And I can make all the adjustments from here. Now, this is a rough mix in progress, so I don't want to change anything. But just by clicking, I can change to the different plugins. See, it brought up the other one. So this makes it really easy for me to do what I need to do without getting out of the mix position, right? So when I'm working on a mix, I can write my automation from here. I can write my automation on here. And I've got all these options of things that I can do. I can even just simply zoom in and out of the track and change track heights if I want to. Like all that stuff that we would normally be fudging over key commands. So a lot of people will say, well, why do you like this over the slate? Would you rather have a Raven? And it's like, basically, no, I don't want to be waving my arms around all day. Okay. Right? If everybody's not familiar with the Raven, it's a touch screen. And I just don't want to be doing this all day. We're in here for long hours, and we need to stay fresh. So that's what I love about this system. Here's the other thing I love about it versus an analog console. It sounds good now. I have more options. I have way more options for effects, plugins. I have tons of plugins. My workflow is faster. What used to take hours of patching and trying to get a mix up, now in a few hours, if your stuff sounded good already and you're mixing as you go, your final mix only takes you a little bit of time, right? Because I mix drums in as I go. I put stuff on as I go. So from the minute I get drums recorded and edited, I'm starting a mix, right? So we get to the end, it's some vocal rides, maybe some guitar rides, maybe some special effects, some additional reverbs, and I'm done. And then if I send it to the artist and the artist says, oh, can you bring the vocal up a little bit? And they don't get back to me for 2 weeks, guess what? I just open the session, make my adjustments, and in 15 minutes they have their mix back corrected. You can't do that on an analog console. And again, earlier we talked about the cost. Nobody's going to pay, unless they're a big budget artist, they're not going to pay you $1,000 for the day to do that recall on an SSL console. This is total recall. People are under the misconception that if a console has recall, you push a button and it all goes back. No, it brings up screens and you have to go to every channel and every knob on those 80 channels you have to set by hand. What I'm going to do is change songs so you can see all this change. If I go to the one we had opened earlier, and it's going to change over and you'll see the screen change and all these go down. And it takes a minute because they're large sessions. This is the Tommy two-tone record. And see, it all comes back. Here's this record all set up from the top with the drums. Everything is right back where I left it. You see the faders move. So if this was a final mix, it's not. It would be very simple for me to go, oh, Tommy wanted a small change. I make the small change, print it, send it.
Bobby, can you play us something?
Yes, I will play you some of the new Tommy two-tone. It's not done yet. Do you guys mind loud? I like to listen loud.
I love loud.
These are a few mountain do's and don'ts, things we do up on the hill, things we leave alone. Don't be surprised if they apply to you. I've been around for years, it still ring true. Ain't never changed, it probably won't. These are a few mountain do's and don'ts. Now don't text in church, don't sleep on the phone. Stay away from that midnight and blowtorch zone. Don't have friends that you have to say please to. Only your future wife and Jesus do you get on your knees to. These are a few mountain do's and don'ts, things we do up on the hill, things we leave alone. Don't be surprised if they apply to you. I've been around for years, still ring true.
So you can see it comes up right where I left off. Yeah. And big drums, no drum samples. That's all live drums. Real amps, there's no amp plugins. That was all real tube amps and tube microphones and guys playing. So this is a much more efficient way to work, and it just opens up everything. I can go to soft keys. I can go to all my memory locations from here if I'm doing stuff, and everything chases and follows, and there's nothing I can't do, which is kind of what we always wished consoles would do.
Yes.
Right? But now we have the best of both worlds.
So, Bobby, you said something interesting earlier about younger producers possibly having their faces stuck to the screen and not being aware of. What other kinds of things do you think they need to be aware of in a session?
Don't impose, don't start producing before you've heard what's going on. I've been in sessions where I'll see somebody young, the singer goes, and they haven't even started singing, like, no, I want it more like this. It's like, okay, guys, take a step back. You hired this person for what they can do, not always what you can do with them. Let them sing it through a few times. Find out what you love about the person you hired or put in for that song, and then develop the two of you stylistically into what the song needs. And if you hired the wrong person, it's okay to say, hey, you know what? This wasn't the right fit for you and me. I chose poorly. Here's some money for the session, still pay them, and then find the person that is the right voice or the right guitar or the right shoe and the right foot.
The right shoe on the right foot.
Yeah. It's the small stuff. It's art first, guys. It's art first. It's energy. It's feeling. Could we leave some of that in while you're trying to make everything perfect? Yeah. Still to this day, you listen to a Stones record, except for the last one, where I feel like the producer made everything perfect. Bass amps, keyboard stuff, mic stands, and the live room.
Nice. So, Bobby, tell us a little bit about how you mic your drums for sessions.
This is my typical big rock setup, minus what I don't have in the room right now are the room mics. And the room mics are kind of everything for a rock drum sound. And sometimes they'll be high, sometimes they'll be close to the floor, sometimes they'll be closer to the kit, sometimes they'll be farther from the kit. It depends on what I'm going for. I don't over mic a drum kit. A lot of people, you'll see they have hundreds of mics on the kit and it's all just phase problems. And I just like to have a good, clear, open, big drum sound and rely on the tuning and the player to give me what I want. The few things I do really like are the tube mics for the overheads. They're cleaner and clearer and they get a little more low end. So your cymbals are whooshy and not crashy sounding. Like, I love a cymbal that goes whoosh and comes out of the speakers three-dimensionally. I don't like ones that go two mics on the kick drum, one in. A lot of guys like to put the inside kick mic right up against this back head. That's a little too attacky for me. I still want to hear the depth of the drum. I still want to hear the wood. I still want to hear it expand. The outside mic, if you notice, is right inside the head. That's so I don't get quite so much cymbal bleed into that microphone. And then I use the Little Labs Voice of God for the extra low end. Because I think I said before, I really don't like sub-kick mics. Every time I see one in a mix, it's down so low, I'm like, why are you even using it? That outside mic with the Voice of God is a usable low end. I can push it way up and just get this, glorious puff that we want to hear out of kick drums. The tom mics are SEs because they have a really good rear address, so they cut out all the cymbals. But if you've got a cymbal right here, like this last player had, it's going to get in this microphone, and you have to learn how to deal with that. People tend to think that they're recording samples, and you're not. When you're recording a drum kit, it's one instrument with multiple mics, not individual items. So there will be bleed, and it should be the kind of bleed that's good for the ear, not bad for the ear. My snare mic, I actually hate SM57s. I don't like them on a snare at all. I don't think they sound modern. I don't think they attack enough. And you have to EQ them like crazy. So I'm using a tube mic, and it's a Mojave pencil mic that I like to use. I really want to try, there's a new mic out called the Snare mic, and I forget who makes it, but I saw some people doing demos on it, and I really liked it. But again, this is what works in this room. It's another thing, if you're going to record drums, is know where they sound best in that room. If you go into a studio and you say, I'm going to put the drums over there, and the assistant says, everybody puts them over there, and you look at that list of everybody and it's all hit record producers, you might want to put the drums where everybody puts the drums. You're not going to reinvent the wheel on the acoustics in that room. The hi-hat mic is also an SE mic, similar to an SM7, but it's got a high and low cut, and it's got the cloud lifter on it, so I can get a really wonderful sizzle without it being brass sounding again. It's a really tight sound. In this room, typically I'll put gobos behind the drums to deaden the cymbal splashback, so I'm not hearing reflections from the cymbals. They're all going forward. I also will use one of my number one tools, which is packing blankets. One of the artists I work with, a songwriter, sometimes likes these really tight sounds. And I just had Christian Brady in here doing a song he wrote for someone where he wanted really tight. And it was just a matter of putting some packing blankets really close to the drums. And then still they wanted the room mics out there, but I was able to get a really tight, non-roomy on the close drum mics. And they loved it, because then without so much splashback, I could really dial in. And this is exceptionally bright, but not pithy sounding snare drum for them, and have complete control over what each drum needed to do. Oh, I also like this crazy big wood beater, because it really lets the drum expand more than the puffy ones or the metal ones.
So Bobby, tell us about some of the other stuff in this room.
So it's just a typical live room. We have carpets that come up. You know, when I'm doing drums, typically I'll pull the carpet up so we get more of the room sound. If I have other musicians in here, we'll leave the carpet down so you don't hear their feet stomping. The acoustics are simple. I used those panels, which are very cheap, to diffuse that wall so that the high end gets broken up. And then if you notice the acoustics I made for these walls, everybody makes the mistake of putting their panels even down both walls, and they should be opposite. Okay. Yeah, because what happens is you're still leaving hard spaces next to each other. So you want to make sure those spaces catch the sound, right? So if these are here, the one on the opposite wall should be in between those. So it doesn't just become a nightmare of bounce, and then you have snares that go ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Yeah. We've got the piano. Baldwin, when they were owned by Gibson, made a series of these, and this is the only one. We've used it on everyone from Debbie Gibson to Parade of Lights to Tommy Two-Tone to Landau Murphy. So it gets a lot of work. It's been a workhorse, and it actually sounds really good.
Oh,
and
look
it's
at
got
that keyboard.
Blue and yellow keys. We were doing guitars this week, so I have a guitar amp set up. This is a custom-made cabinet, and I don't remember the name of the company, but this has the vintage Celestion speakers in it, and it's a really good quality cabinet. I like big tube mics on guitars like they used to do with the Beatles and Tom Petty and everybody else, just a little bit off axis, and then I can just move it accordingly between the two. But I really like the sound of the big tube mics. I think it's a lost art. Everybody got into the ribbon mics and all the other stuff, and I have some great ribbon mics. I have a Rupert Neve ribbon mic that I do like on guitars. The guys in Nashville are using that a lot now. But for the rock stuff, I just like, even the heavy stuff, I like a big tube mic on the guitars.
So do you ever have guitarists in the control room and driving the speakers in the studio?
That's all I do. So even with combo amps, the guys are in there with me. The communication's better. We can adjust the amps from there. I prefer to work one-on-one with people. And plus, I don't want a guitar player out here on headphones. It's not their sound. And typically, if they want the amp loud, you can't get the headphones louder than the amp. And it's way better. Everybody hears what the final sound's going to be. You put a guitar player and headphones out in the room, and then they come in and go, "Oh, I don't like that tone." Well, now you just lost maybe the best performance they were going to do all day, because they couldn't hear the sound that was going on. So I have guitar tie lines and speaker tie lines. I have a radial JD7 box in there, but I've stopped using it because Ed Evans built a DI that I can show you that splits the signal, takes phantom power, and boosts it. So if I'm recording guitar, I usually always get a DI in case I need to do some editing, which is the clean signal. But then if I have a combo amp, and I don't want to put the guitar player out here. I can put the combo amp out here with that DI and not have any signal loss. Now, luckily in this room, it's only 15, 20 feet, so we're not getting into that problem, and the tie lines are actually short. But in a bigger studio, you need to amplify the signal. When I say amplify the signal, I mean boost it, because guitars are such low voltage signals. So if it's a combo amp, we can send it out here. And if it's a speaker, we can send it out here. And then I've got the rack in there with different heads. If they bring their head, I can switch it out, and everything's available to us all the time. For guitars, I'm always trying to use amps. I only use amp simulators for guide tracks. I don't like them. DI bass and cabinet.
So I notice you've got cinder blocks under the amp there.
Yeah, so that's simple math. We don't want the cabinet to connect with the floor and resonate in funny ways. Just like, speakers on stands, we're basically getting this up so you're hearing the true low end of the cabinet and not connecting with the floor. And then, of course, these are all our mic inputs that go to the patch bay, headphone boxes, and over there we have gobos that we put in the center of the room, and that's our vocal booth.
Why not use the vocal booth that was set up before you took over?
The vocal booth is too far away. You can't communicate with people, and it's too small. So it's now cable land, which makes it nice because you can just reach in and grab a cable or headphones or a music stand right in the room. You don't have to run down the hall to a tech room. And I like a vocal to feel a little more open, like it's in a space, not reverby, not tight, but like it's in an environment. I hear a lot of vocals that sound like there's no atmosphere attached to them. And yeah, you can add reverb and stuff, but too dead is too dead and too dry is too dry. You need to feel like there's a whole person coming out of the speakers.
How do you feel about breath on the track?
I don't mind it at all. People don't sing without breathing now, do they? Will I adjust it up or down? Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of great records we all love that when the singer goes and goes for that one note, it's coming. And that breath is the setup for that. If the note just comes out of nowhere, it's a little like, Yeah, you use breath and the energy. If someone's got a breath that sounds like, they have giant boogers and something, then get rid of that one. But yeah, I don't want the booger breaths, but yeah. Oh, and for young engineers, don't crossfade in the middle of breaths when you're doing your Pro Tools edits, because it goes and sounds like two breaths when there should only be one breath there.
Any advice for our membership?
My advice to anybody going into this is don't worry about being perfect and don't worry about making mistakes, because this is an imperfect art. It's not unlike going into medicine. The gear changes constantly. The plugins change. The computers change. Just stay open to the fact that it's never going to be set. I know so many guys that were analog gurus and don't work now. They sell insurance, they sell cars because they just wouldn't go with the technology. So don't be afraid. You're living in the future. Keep living in the future. And then lastly, ask me what my favorite piece of gear is, and I'll tell everyone what theirs will be in the future.
Yeah, what is your favorite piece of gear?
The mute button!
Wait, so I have one last question.
Okay.
So I would like to know, there is a famous story about sleigh bells.
Oh, the Michael Grimm sleigh bells. Okay, so we're making a Christmas record. We did the Michael Grimm Christmas record. All soul stuff, really cool. And we're sitting in there and we're doing the basic tracks, and Michael's on that stool with his mic for the scratch vocal, and he goes, "Hey man, can I talk to you?" I said, "Yeah, Michael, what's going on?" He said, "Man, do we have to put sleigh bells on this record?" And I said, "Do you want to put sleigh bells on this record?" He goes, "No, man, I kind of hate those things." And I'm like, "We don't have to put sleigh bells on the record." The record ended up being called Michael Grimm, Sleigh Bells Not Included.
I am glad I asked that question.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, thank you for giving us a tour of your studio. Thank you for giving us a tour of your process and your specific people skills when it comes to sessions and stuff. That's something I think a lot of people, that's another lost art. You've taught us about many lost arts today.
Going to be people in the room.
Yeah.
Better learn to love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.